Welcome back, everybody. I'm the Dr. Bob Lee, and our next guest is the staff reporter for City and State New York, and she joins us today to discuss the impact of long lines during the early voting process and mail-in ballots and the impact that that may have on the results of this year's presidential election. Please welcome to the show, Rebecca C. Lewis. Rebecca, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me on.
So you've been covering these things, these long lines. What have you seen so far?
It's the long lines have been both encouraging and to a degree discouraging. You never like to see long lines. I've not heard That's not true. I've heard very little complaints. People are very excited. They're willing to wait online. But it's still troubling to see that at places in the city that people are waiting 3, 4, sometimes even 5 hours, and really speaks to both the enthusiasm and excitement that people have about voting, but also to a degree the lack of preparedness by the city board of elections to know exactly how many people they should have been expecting and to allocate poll sites accordingly.
Some people pull a red flag about voter suppression, but I see that there's an overwhelming enthusiastic feeling about getting out to exercise your right to vote.
Uh, you know, it is true that any time that someone who is trying to vote has difficulty, it is in some ways a form of suppression, but it's still true. It's easier than ever to vote in New York City this year. Absentee ballots are expanded. That's never happened before. This is our first presidential election with early voting. It's to be expected to a degree that there might be some kinks, and this just turned out to be an incredibly high profile, contentious election that people want to get involved in. And of course, election day itself. Polls will be
Yeah.
open for 15 hours, 3 ways to vote. It's brand new in New York.
What do you tell people about mail-in ballots and all the other methods about voting? Because I know you have to get that mail. A lot of people don't trust the mail-in ballots because they feel that it's not going to get there on time.
That has been a concern, and I think that's part of the reason that the early voting turnout was so large. There are people concerned about the mail, about things getting there in time, especially in the primaries, when thousands of ballots were thrown out because they were missing postmarks, they arrived too late. You voters should ballots will be counted if they're postmarked on election day, and a recent court case decided that if they're postmarked, I believe a day, maybe 2 days after. Apologies, not postmarked. If it's missing a postmark and
Yeah.
received a day or 2 days after, it'll still count. Previously, that was not the case. So if it's postmarked on election day, it will still count. But there are still ways to drop it off without the mail. Voters were able to drop it off at early polling sites. Voters will still be able to drop it off at their election day polling sites or at the Board of Elections offices. So if they're not, if they see long lines, if they don't want to vote in person, but they still want to drop off their absentee ballot, there's still ways around mailing it as up until election day.
Yeah. What might you think the mail-in votes and early voting, how would that impact our election? What do you think about that?
It's so hard to tell right now. We obviously saw a lot of mail-in ballots for the primary, and in New York City, that really delayed getting results back. I think that the Board of Elections, I think, has learned from the primary, and they've been preparing to be able to count those ballots faster. But it's both are so new. It's impossible to know about exactly what kind of impact that'll have on turnout. We don't know yet if all the absentee ballots and early voting is going to mean that no one's going to show up on election day. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't expect that to happen, but it's totally unprecedented. I think that a lot of people, a lot of observers, a lot of election rights advocates are seeing this as potentially record turnout now that there are 3 ways to vote.
Yeah. From what you've seen, the long lines all across the country, watching TV, listening to radio, and from your personal experience on these long lines, who do you feel? I mean, where's it going to go? Who do you think is going to win, or who may win this election?
I am a simple New York City and state politics reporter. I don't know if it's my place to weigh in who might win nationally. It's so hard to tell. I can say with a degree of certainty that Biden will win New York. So I don't think that much is in question. It's so hard to tell. I think that there's record turnout, and high turnout, has traditionally helped Democrats. You know, but we don't know yet. We don't know. We don't know if the turnout is, conservative Republican voters or first-time independent voters who might be trying to back Trump. It's so hard to tell. It's everyone thought they knew what was going to happen in 2016. So I'm not gonna make any hard and fast predictions.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Everybody was like, ah, and then when it happened, ah. So you're already looking forward to 2021. Tell us what you're
Yes.
working on.
I am working on the 21 and 21 campaign to get 21 women elected to the city council in
Yeah.
2021. Right now, there are 12 women, which is 12 out of 51, pretty low percentage considering that women make up more than half of the city's population. And, they've recently rolled out endorsements, 32 Democrats, 33 total, one Republican, and actually the first major organization to do ranked choice endorsements. They've got first, second, third choices. It's very exciting. Ranked choice voting is the big unknown for 2021. I've been covering it since the Charter Revision Commission. And it's going to make it a very exciting election. And I certainly hope that the enthusiasm that we're seeing for this election carries over to the municipal elections next year.
Yeah, that's what we keep telling people. Make sure you exercise your right to vote, whether it's local or national or state or national or whatever. Exercise your right to vote. Where can we go to find out more about the wonderful work that you're doing?
You can go to cityandstateny.com. You can sign up to get magazines delivered if you work for the city, if you work for a nonprofit, if you're a government worker, teacher, you can get it for free. So, we're always looking to expand our readership and always happy to help keep New York City and New York State informed about their local politics.
And we thank you so much. Stay safe.
You as well.
Rebecca C. Lewis, City and State New York staff reporter. We appreciate you and thank you for all the work that you're doing in our community.
Thank you for having me on.
All right. Coming up next, we'll keep giving it to you. Next on Open.